They mocked her skin. They laughed at her size. They called her a fat monkey in front of everyone. But what they didn't know is that this quiet black girl had a father whose silence was more dangerous than their hate. And by the time he arrived, she was already gone. But her death? It wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a storm that would shake the entire school and expose a truth they tried to bury. This is Chantel's story. Watch to the end. Share this. And never stay silent when you see someone being bullied. The morning air was thick with silence as the yellow school bus hissed to a stop in front of Lakeside High, one of the most prestigious public schools in the state of Minnesota. Clean-cut lawns. Shiny metal lockers. Polished trophies in glass cases. But under the perfect surface was something far uglier. Chantel Brooks, 15, stood on the sidewalk, staring at the tall brick building like it was a mountain she wasn't ready to climb. Her dark brown skin glistened under the weak sun, and the too tight straps of her backpack cut into her shoulders. She was chubby, quiet, and new. 3 strikes before she even walked through the front door. Her father had dropped her off earlier in a sleek black SUV. He gave her a kiss on the forehead and whispered, "You've got this, baby girl. Don't let anyone tell you different." But even his strong voice couldn't quiet the storm growing inside her. The moment Chantel walked into the building, the noise died. Heads turned. Whispers began. Laughter followed. A few white girls standing by their lockers looked her up and down, their eyes lingering just long enough to hurt. Chantel wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was pulled back into simple cornrows. And her jeans, though clean, weren't from the latest mall boutique. To them, she wasn't just different. She was a target. She tried to walk with her head high, but it was hard when every stare felt like a slap. A girl muttered just loud enough for Chantel to hear. "Who let the zoo out?" Laughter. "I thought they stopped admitting fat chicks." More laughter. Chantel clenched her fists and kept walking. In homeroom, the teacher introduced her without even looking up from the attendance sheet. "Everyone, this is Chantel. Make her feel welcome." But no one did. She sat in the only open desk, in the far back, and pulled out her notebook, pretending not to notice the 3 girls smirking in front of her. Ashley. Megan. Claire. They ran Lakeside High like it was their private kingdom. And Chantel? She had just trespassed. By lunchtime, her name was already a joke. Someone had snapped a picture of her eating alone in the cafeteria and posted it on Snapchat with the caption, "Hippo in the wild." It spread like wildfire. Chantel's phone buzzed with the notification. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just stared at the screen in disbelief, wondering how quickly people could hate someone they didn't even know. But what none of them knew was that the girl they mocked had a father trained for war. A man who had seen blood, death, and silence. And when he found out what they did to his only daughter, he wouldn't stay silent. Not this time. The next morning, Chantel stood in front of her mirror, staring at her reflection like she didn't recognize the girl staring back. Her oversized hoodie swallowed her body, and her eyes, once curious and bright, looked dim. Hollow. She didn't want to go back to Lakeside High. But she had no choice. Her dad was already dressed, sipping coffee in his military uniform, his back straight as always. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, Dad. I'm fine," she lied. And just like that, she was back on the bus, surrounded by the same stares, same laughter, same silence. Today, the whispers weren't just behind her back, they were straight to her face. Ashley bumped her in the hallway and smirked. "Oops. Didn't see you there, Bigfoot." Claire added. "Must have been the camouflage hoodie. You know, like a hippo in a forest." Students around them snorted with laughter. Some high-fived. Chantel kept walking, her face expressionless, but inside, something cracked. That night, alone in her room, she finally let the tears fall. Not loud. Not messy. Just quiet, controlled pain, the kind that slips down your cheeks in silence and soaks into your pillow without a sound. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small black notebook. A gift from her dad. He had written on the first page weeks ago. For your thoughts, baby girl. Use it to stay strong. She flipped past that page and began to write. Day 2. They call me a monkey. A pig. A mistake. I didn't think people could hate you so fast. I smile in front of Dad, but inside, I'm shrinking. Every laugh they share feels like a knife. I'm scared. Not of them. Of disappearing, and no one noticing. She closed the journal and slid it under her mattress. The next day at school, it got worse. Someone had printed out the edited photo of her from Snapchat and taped it to her locker. A crude monkey face pasted over her own. A banana drawn in the corner. She froze. Her heart pounded. Her fingers trembled as she tore it down. Students passing by laughed. Others pretended not to see. One girl whispered, "Don't get mad, it's just a joke." But it wasn't a joke. Not to Chantel. By the end of the day, her hoodie was stained with juice someone accidentally spilled on her during lunch. Her notebook had gone missing. And the teacher still hadn't learned her name. Back at home, she went straight to her room. She didn't eat. She didn't talk. She pulled the journal out again. Day 3. I think I'm disappearing. I scream inside, but nobody hears me. I want to go home. But this is home now. And nobody sees me but the pain. She stared at her words, her hand trembling. Then, a sound. A knock on her door. Chantel, her dad's voice. Everything all right in there? She wiped her tears fast. Yeah, Dad. Just tired. But deep inside, something was slipping away. And neither of them knew. Just how close to the edge she really was. It was fourth period, and Chantel sat alone in the library, hunched over her desk. The one place in school where the noise died down, and the walls didn't laugh at her. She clutched her black notebook, her only safe place. Her only friend. The words inside were raw. Honest. Bleeding. A place where her smile wasn't forced, and her pain wasn't invisible. She thought no one knew about it. She thought it was hidden well. But someone had been watching. Earlier that morning, Ashley had followed her. Not out of curiosity. Not out of boredom. But out of cruel sport. From the corner of the hallway, she saw Chantel slide the notebook under her locker shelf before gym class. Ashley smiled. A real wolf's smile. During gym, while Chantel struggled to keep up in dodgeball, Ashley snuck back to the locker. She found the notebook within seconds. Black cover. Silver pages. She slipped it into her bag and disappeared before the bell rang. By lunchtime, the entire cafeteria was buzzing. Chantel walked in, already tense, already scanning the room for danger. She always did now. But nothing could have prepared her for what came next. A voice echoed from the center table, loud and mocking. Day 3, I think I'm disappearing. I scream inside, but nobody hears me. Laughter exploded. Chantel froze. Ashley was standing on a bench, reading from her journal. Every time they call me names, I die a little. I wonder what it would feel like if I just stopped waking up. The laughter died slowly. Even some students looked uncomfortable now. But Ashley pushed on. Oh look, she even writes poems. This is so depressing, I think my lunch just died. She tossed the notebook on the table like garbage. Chantel couldn't move. Her legs felt like cement. Her ears rang. Her vision blurred. The one thing she had left, her private world, her pain, was now a circus act. She turned around and ran. Through the hallways. Past the stairs. Past the Snickers. She made it to the girls' restroom and locked herself in the farthest stall. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. Her hands shook. She pulled out her phone, opened her notes app, and wrote just one sentence. "This world was never built for girls like me." Then she turned off her phone and sat there. For what felt like hours. Back at the cafeteria, the journal still sat on the table. One teacher eventually picked it up, confused by the silence that followed its reading. But by then, the damage was already done. That night, Chantel didn't come downstairs for dinner. Her dad knocked once, then again. "Baby girl?" No answer. He assumed she was tired. But upstairs, behind her locked door, Chantel stared at the ceiling. The kind of stare that didn't blink. Didn't cry. Didn't hope. She wasn't just broken. She was gone inside. The halls of Lakeside High were unusually quiet that morning. Ashley, Megan, and Claire strutted through the corridor, expecting to see Chantel hunched by her locker, hoodie on, eyes down, trying to disappear. But she wasn't there. Her locker was shut. No sound of her sneakers squeaking on the tile. No heavy breathing from Jim. Just absence. Ashley smirked. "Guess the hippo took the day off." They all laughed. But something in the air felt off. Heavy. Too still. Meanwhile, miles away, in a quiet two-story house tucked in a suburban street, a black SUV was parked crooked on the driveway. A crowd had started to gather near the sidewalk. 2 police cars. An ambulance. Flashing lights bouncing off the windows. Inside, the scene was still. Too still. Chantel's father stood frozen in her bedroom doorway. Her journal lay open on the bed, a single line written in shaky handwriting. "I don't belong here anymore." His breath caught in his throat. The strong, disciplined military man who had survived war zones, hostage crises, and battlefield trauma, now stood trembling like a leaf. "No, no, no, no." He rushed to the bathroom door and slammed his fist against it. "Chantel. Open up. Chantel, please." But there was no answer. A minute later, the paramedics arrived. They broke the door open. And then, silence. A kind of silence that screams. A silence that breaks a man. Back at school, rumors were spreading like wildfire. First a whisper. "Hey, did you hear about Chantel?" Then louder. "Someone said she tried to, you know. At home." Then finally. "They found her in the bathtub. She left a note." Phones buzzed. Screens lit up. The same students who once mocked her were now glued to Twitter and TikTok, where the hashtag had begun. Hashtag pray for Chantel. But prayers don't undo damage. And guilt doesn't bring back the broken. At exactly 11:47 a.m., the intercom cracked through the silence. "Attention, students. There has been an emergency involving one of our students, Chantel Brooks. Counselors are available." The voice faltered. Ashley sat frozen in her seat. Her phone buzzed with notifications, but she couldn't look. Megan whispered. She actually did it?" And in that moment, the laughter they'd shared the day before. The fake tears they faked. The names they called her. Came crashing down on them like a wall of bricks. The pain was real now. And they had helped build it. That evening, Chantel's father sat alone in her room, holding her journal. The final entry, written the night before. They say sticks and stones may break your bones. But names? Names bury you slowly. He clenched the book in his hands. And for the first time in decades, he cried. But not for the daughter he had lost. He cried for the world that broke her. And didn't care until it was too late. 2 days had passed since the sirens. 2 days since Chantel's bedroom fell silent. 2 days since her name stopped being a joke and started being a headline. 15-year-old black girl dies by suicide after alleged bullying at elite high school. Hashtag Justice for Chantel trending nationwide. But inside Lakeside High, there were no real changes, just forced smiles and hushed whispers. The same teachers. The same bullies. The same polished silence. Until the doors opened. It was a Friday morning when a black government-issued SUV rolled slowly onto school grounds. No music. No noise. Just presence. The kind that sends a chill before the wind even blows. Out stepped a tall black man in full military dress uniform. Medals across his chest. Hat under his arm. Jaw locked. Eyes burning. It was Major David Brooks, Chantel's father. No one had ever seen him before. But when he walked through the school entrance, security didn't stop him. Teachers didn't greet him. Students stepped aside like a wave parting for a storm. He didn't go to the front desk. He went straight to the principal's office. Inside, Principal Warner looked up from his laptop. His hands twitched slightly. Major Brooks. I'm so deeply sorry for your loss. David didn't sit. He placed Chantel's journal on the principal's desk, gently, like glass. Then he opened it. Page 3, he said, his voice steady but cold. She wrote, "They called me a monkey. They threw bananas at me. I eat alone. I cry alone. And they laugh." Principal Warner shifted uncomfortably. "We are conducting an internal investigation." Page 6, David interrupted. "Today they printed my face with animal ears. They posted it online. No one stopped them. Not even the teachers." The principal's face paled. David took a breath. "This school didn't just fail my daughter. It killed her. And I will not let her story die with her." He stood straight again. "So listen closely, I want every student who touched her journal suspended. I want those girls investigated. And I want a public apology to my family. On record. On camera." "Major Brooks," the principal stammered, "you have to understand, these are children." "So was Chantel," he snapped. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It carried the weight of 100 unsaid truths. "You ignored her tears. Now you'll hear my voice." By lunchtime, the whispers had turned into stares. "Yo, is that her dad? He's military. I heard he pulled out her journal in the office." Ashley's mom got called in. She was crying in the parking lot. Even Megan and Claire had stopped smiling. The walls of Lakeside High had never felt so tight. Never felt so guilty. Because this wasn't just grief anymore. It was a reckoning. And it was just beginning. The morning fog hadn't lifted when the first crowd appeared at the gates of Lakeside High. At first, it was just a handful of people. Mothers holding handmade signs. A man with a megaphone. 2 teenage girls in all black with "R.I.P. Chantel" written across their shirts. But by noon, it had become a storm. Chantel's story had gone viral overnight. Her father had done it. He had scanned key pages of her journal and released them to a major news outlet, alongside screenshots of the cruel messages she received. One headline read, "They called her a fat monkey, then they buried her." The images were heartbreaking. The journal entries were soul-shattering. They laugh when I cry. No one protects me. If I die, will they finally see me? The internet saw her. And they were furious. That Friday, protesters flooded the school entrance. Signs waved in the air. Silence kills. Black girls deserve to breathe. Justice for Chantel. News crews lined the sidewalk. Helicopters hovered above. And inside the school, fear settled in. Ashley sat in the counselor's office, eyes red, face pale. Megan's parents had hired a lawyer. Claire deleted her social media after receiving hundreds of hate comments. The same girls who had laughed so loud just days before were now hiding from the sound of Chantel's name. That evening, across 15 cities in the U.S., thousands of students marched in candlelight processions holding up photos of Chantel. In her hometown, a statue was unveiled outside Lakeside High. It showed a young black girl holding a book, looking up at the sky. At the base were the words, "I see you now, Chantel. And so does the world." Major Brooks stood there, staring at the statue with a quiet smile. "You're louder than ever, baby girl," he whispered. As the sun set behind the school, Chantel's story, her pain, her truth, and her voice, lived on in the hearts of millions. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Speak up. Stand up. Be the reason someone doesn't feel invisible. And most of all, never be silent again. Subscribe, share, and tell us where you're watching from, because stories like this deserve to be heard.